Those who have worked at Disney World, what behind-the-scenes stories do you have that the public doesn't see? As a character, you are supposed to throw up in your mask if you are sick. Taking it off is not an option. You cover one eye with your hand and raise the other arm in the air to alert maintenance that you are not well. Also, if there is another character, same as you cannot, under any circumstances, be seen with them. You also must take a course to match signature style for autographs. Does it count if it's a different amusement park? The one I worked at has one of those sudden drop rides. A co-worker found a single screw on the ground and they closed down the ride for days as they went over every inch of the ride. Turns out it was a screw that could have led to a seat opening and rider falling out if it hadn't been discovered. At Disney parks, all the screws on the rides have paint on them, and where they're attached is a seal, so they can see if the screw is loose or not. At least with that, they could tell if the screw belonged to the ride or not. Edit, words. If you hear an announcement over the park-wide sound system looking for a specific person, it is something very important. Announcements like that have a chain of approval before Disney will allow the magic illusion to be broken. But it's not always bad news, like informing families of a death. I've done several park announcements to find someone to inform them an organ donation was matched, a medical courier was on their way to Orlando, and they needed to get to the hospital ASAP. I worked a cash register in Tomorrowland. A guy had a heart attack and died about 10 feet from me. I called it in as soon as I saw, but they already knew about it. I went on break shortly afterward and saw the family, literally behind the scenes, crying their eyes out. That never happens. Guests are never allowed behind the scenes, except when somebody dies, I guess. Really kind of heartbreaking. On a positive note, they all got lifetime passes. You heard it here first, boys. Get a loved one to die in a Disney park for a quick backstage access and some lifetime passes. I don't work there, but had a relevant experience. The stories about underground passageways and secret police are 100% true. Was in the Magic Kingdom for a band trip in high school, hanging out with a few friends. One guy, we'll call him Jack, decided it'd be a good idea to shoplift some keychains from one of the stores. This being Disney, there were probably 50 different security cameras that saw this. A few minutes later, we're walking through a crowded area when someone gave me a flat tire and we stop. Two big guys are behind us and quietly tell Jack that he needs to go with them, and tell the rest of us to let our band director know he needs to get in touch with security. They walk Jack over behind one of the stores where there's a cast members only door, and disappear behind it. Later Jack told us they took him underground, where he sat in a security room for the rest of the day where he was charged with shoplifting. They threw the book at him, they don't tolerate that at all. He got a huge fine and had to do community service in Florida. We lived in the Northeast. In retrospect, I have a huge amount of respect, and a small amount of terror, for how Disney handled the situation. They were incredibly subtle with the whole flat tire thing, and how they quietly avoided making a scene. People walking past us had no idea what was going on. I know it sounds silly, but that experience alone probably helped me understand how terrifying and effective secret police in places like the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany were, better than anything we ever learned in class. Also, only a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up enjoying this video, consider subscribing with notification on. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. I have an autistic cousin, and once while we were riding the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, it broke down. My cousin flipped out and Disney security literally appeared out of the walls. They took us into the back tunnels and into a freight elevator. Before we knew it, we're back outside. They were awesome in helping calm him as well. When I was 4, I cried in the Haunted Mansion. Same thing happened. Some really nice cast members appeared in that hallway where all the paintings move and escorted my uncle and me out. Now every time I go to Disney, my family messes with me the whole time. Are you ready for the Haunted Mansion? Sure, it's not too scary. It's okay if you cry. The Tinker Bell that zip lines from the castle each night is an Asian dude. I really hope this is true. On our family trip to Disney World, I was leaning over a railing looking down into some water. A few unreachable feet below, I spot a tiny 1.5 feet to 2 feet alligator. Being from Africa and relatively unfazed with a slightly sharp swimming lizard, thought nothing of it. I called my mother over and said, "Look, an alligator." How cool. Sweet Jesus, was this a mistake? Not 2 seconds later, ears everywhere, man. A staff member was looking over the railing whispering on the radio. All hell broke loose in the most hushed professional way ever. We were escorted away on a golf cart, and a huge section of the park was cordoned off. We were taken to a room where they were very apologetic for our negative experience and offered us a free day VIP the works. So we said a big thank you and took what was offered. In future, I will be smuggling other small harmless creatures in for free stuff. I also got stuck on the Big Thunder Mountain ride in Paris. That was handled in a much more French way. Je suis de soul blows smoke in face. TL, DR Disney World plus tiny alligator being all chill equals free stuff. Made a new account just for this thread. I am a former Disney World Resort employee. I worked as a concierge at a deluxe resort, but sometimes had shifts at a value/moderate level resort. I came across a lot of famous and crazy people. Let me know if you have any questions. Government officials, including POTUS, normally stay at the Contemporary because it is the most secure resort. Celebrities want to stay in Cinderella's castle, but Disney has denied some of them based on how messy they have left hotel rooms before. Cast members see lots of famous people every day, all the time bragging about who you know to try to get free stuff from people. Getting paid minimum wage won't get you too far. On the flip side, Disney gives out a lot of money. If you complain enough to the right cast member at your resort, especially when staying at a deluxe resort, there is a good chance you will get money back. Disney has a huge budget for this. When the Polynesian was under major construction, just coming off this now, they give out a lot of money to angry guests who didn't do research ahead of time. If you are nice to the cast members, they will go out of their way to make magic. I often sent up chocolates or gave extra fast passes to nice guests. If you are mean to cast members, you better believe we are putting notes on your reservation. Disney has a lot of computer systems and they track crazy guests' behavior. When you come up to the desk and scan your magic band, I will be warned if you have yelled or been out of line to another cast member. And that is across the board. All the Disney resorts use the same system. As for craziest stories, I have been asked where to go to get, and I also had a guest that ended up being a con woman. I have also had guests pass me their phone number. I can only imagine how bad it is for the princesses. You definitely learn a lot about people and grow thick skin working for Disney. I think that experience helped me get my current job, but also allowed me to have newfound respect in what may be the most difficult customer service industry around. Let me know if you have questions. A friend of mine told me that the rules for workers at the European Disneyland were so strict that they took to calling it Mauschwitz. When management got wind of this, they were told that anyone found using that name again would be fired. Apparently, it was only a couple of hours before they were calling it Dachau. Everyone in the call centers is given a stage name, so no two agents have the same name to the guests. Most are unique stage names I can remember: Cotton, Casper, Arizona, Lucinda. When you're in training, they give you a selection of like 20 names to choose from, so you better hope you're one of the first ones to pick so you can get a normal name and not get stuck with Cotton FFS. Definitely wouldn't pick Cotton. Pretty sure they didn't have a choice about picking Cotton. I worked on the Great Movie Ride in Hollywood Studies for a while, and I can tell you all 22 minutes of your friendly tour guide speech is scripted to the very last letter. You get 3 days to learn your whole monologue, and all of the speeds, control, stops, goes of the actual ride, before going live as a tour guide. Most of those 3 days is spent in a room with your trainer reciting your script until you get every word right. If you accidentally say the word okay instead of alright, you start over from the beginning. Most tedious 3 days of my life. There's also one button on every car that, despite being really close to buttons you have to touch all the time, if pushed gets you fired immediately. Compulsory. I never worked for Disney, but a friend did. Disney security listens to all Disney radio channels at all times for any distress call or other issue that is relevant to security. My friend, we'll call him Daniel because that's his name, worked for Disney World in Florida once. He worked in one of the resorts. I'm not quite sure what his job actually was, but his radio call sign was Movie Runner. He was walking between resorts one night, and near a pool he was cornered by a mama bobcat. Usually not a huge deal because the bobcat will eventually realize the person is not a threat, but he radioed the resort to let them know that he was being cornered by a bobcat. Next radio transmission, without missing a beat: Movie Runner, this is Disney Security Base, we understand you are being cornered by a bobcat. Please remain calm, we have 2 units approaching your location, ETA 2 minutes, please acknowledge, over. TLDR: Disney doesn't around with bobcats.